Rise and shine.
Hi, and welcome out to the gate.
Well,
This is
church,
my father's room.
my father's room. Right? This is our study area. Oh, and Eli's sneaking in and around, and you can't see, but Nico's over there, not clothed or anything. He's iPadding this morning. So, want to just remind you to do a couple things. If you aren't friends with us on YouTube or you don't get our newsletter, and you want to be part of kind of what we're doing here at Church of the Gates, go to churchofthegates.org. You can sign up for all that there. And it's a way for you to stay connected, but it's also a way for you to get some great content. A couple of real quick opportunities for you this week. Good Friday, we're going to stream our Good Friday services at 4 p.m. this Friday and 8 p.m. this Friday, and Easter at 10 a.m. this Sunday. And so those are our service times. We'd love for you to join us Good Friday at 4 or 8. We're going to do communion, so get your communion cups and bread and all that. That's this Friday, 4 and 8. Then Easter at 10 a.m. like we've been doing. And then a couple other things. If you've seen, we've been trying to encourage nurses and doctors, and we're going to work with some assisted living companies this week to help encourage them and what they're doing. And you can text 406 basket to 406-206-1988 to help bring care baskets. And what we really need is letters. And so the nurses and doctors and assisted living people said it would be great to get some encouraging notes. And that's something anyone can do for free, to grab a piece of paper and a pen and just write some notes. And you can drop those off at our church at 11 a.m. from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Wednesday. So tomorrow, just write some notes. If you've got homeschool, you can have your kids draw some of those up and get that taken care of. But we'd love for you to do that with us. One other thing is our prayer walk tomorrow, 6 p.m. If you've got some time, join us wherever you're at in Missoula. Pray for your neighbors, and we're gonna have a real cool door hanger for you to invite your friends to Easter. Yeah, go do that. And on Easter, we would love it if you would share our Easter graphics and Good Friday graphics. It's a really easy way for you to invite someone to Easter. So on Sunday morning, you can, if you're on Facebook, you can click share and sort of watch party, and it goes to your feed, and you can invite anyone you want as a way to invite them to church. Let's see here. We got Melissa Lanoy with no comment. I'm assuming she meant to say good morning. Hi, Melissa. Cam and Kinsey Drapes. Hey, good morning to you as well. Hey, there's Lauren McDonald. Hi, Mrs. McDonald.
Hello.
Hello. So we'll just real quick do that prayer walk tomorrow. Text basket or write down some notes for us. It'd be great. And you can deliver those to nurses. We'll deliver those to the nurses and assisted living people. And Good Friday at 4 p.m., 8 p.m. on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Easter at 10 a.m. We're going to do something this morning, just real briefly. We're going to look at a passage from Luke 20. And we're kind of walking through the life of Jesus here in the last few days in Jerusalem. And so yesterday was Monday, and he went and cleared the temple, and it was this really chaotic kind of massive conflict that Jesus created. He goes in and cleanses the temple, and it really we talked about it being it was a spark that lit the fuse that would ultimately culminate right in this massive uprising in Jerusalem, this upheaval of authority, and culminate with the crucifixion of Jesus. And so that was yesterday. He went into the temples and cleansed the temples and fought with some Pharisees and argued with some Gentiles. And that was yesterday. So he comes out of Bethany. It comes down the hill of Mount of Olives into Jerusalem today. And today, on Tuesday, he spends quite a bit of time teaching in parables, teaching in and interacting with the Pharisees. They question his authority. They question the resurrection. And there's this one really cool part here that I just want to focus in on. Is this interaction between the Pharisees and Jesus, where they begin to ask him, should we give taxes to Caesar? Because at this point, he is just previously, right before this passage, he's told a parable, and it's really against the Pharisees. And in verse 19 of Luke 20, the Pharisees, Luke kind of puts this little note and says, this is when the Pharisees began to plot his arrest. And so everything is beginning to build in conflict and build in tension. And Jerusalem is full of messianic anticipation that this is the promised one. And the Pharisees are in conflict with Jesus. And so here's kind of the scene. There's this big crowd full of people. And there are some people called Herodians, and then there are the Jews. The Herodians are people who were loyal to the King Herod. And King Herod is a puppet king of the Jews, or puppet king of Rome. And so all of Israel right now is ruled by Rome, and Herod, this puppet king. And so every once a year, all of the people who can work, if you're able-bodied from puberty until 65, you owe 1 day's wages to King Herod. And it was a little coin called a denarii, and it had Caesar's image on it. And on that little denarii, it inscribed that Caesar was God. And so the Jews hated this because, one, they didn't like being ruled by Rome, and two, they had this, commandment, you shall have no other gods before me. And so this denarii, which had Caesar's image on it, and an inscription that he was divine, created a real big problem for the Jews because they hated Rome, and they hated violating the commands. And so inside this big crowd that was there were some Herodians who were loyal to Herod and loyal to Rome, and then you had some people who were loyal to Israel. And so it's kind of this mixed crowd. And in that craziness, the Pharisees kind of try to set a trap for Jesus, and they say, well, listen, if he's gonna tell stories that kind of indict us and show us and show people that we're not that good, or we're not doing our jobs, well, let's see if we can trip him. And so the Herodians and the Pharisees are there, and the Pharisees say, listen, is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Hey, Mary Norton, it's good to see you. Lily, it's good to see you as well. And they ask him this question. And say, okay, is it right to pay taxes? And so Jesus is caught in what looks like a catch-22, right? The Pharisees have come up with this beautiful question, because if he says, no, you shouldn't pay taxes, and it sounds like he's supporting the Jewish cause then he's immediately arrested by the Herodians, who are loyal to Rome because of treason. And so if he says no, don't pay your taxes, he's going to get arrested. If he says yes, pay your taxes, then the Jewish people can accuse him of blaspheming. They can accuse him of worshiping God, and they can accuse him of being a loyalist to Rome. And so this really is the if anything, of a no-win solution for Jesus. So either he's torn apart by the crowd, or he's put in jail by the Herodian. And so Jesus comes up with a third answer, and he grabs a coin and says, whose image is on the front of this coin? And everyone looks and says, well, it's Caesar's. And the idea of an image back in that day was that images were worshipped, that they were meant to be venerated and glorified. And so it wasn't just a picture. It was meant that anywhere that denarii went, Caesar's authority went with him, because it was an extension of him, and his image was an extension of his authority. And so he looks at the crowd and he says, well, whose image is on this? And they go, so Caesar's. And so he goes, okay, well, good. Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and render to God what things that are God's. So give to Caesar what is Caesar. And we know God is not saying that Caesar is equal to God, but he's saying, well, Caesar's been put on this earth. And so we know what Romans 13 says, and 1 Peter 3 says about respecting the authorities for the sake of the Lord. And so this is less about taxes and more about the image that's stamped on us. And so he's saying, listen, if Caesar requires you to pay taxes, then pay taxes as to the Lord, and do this for the Lord's sake. Be a good citizen, but render to God the things that are God's. And so this is what really Jesus is reminding them, that we are stamped with the image of God, that we are created with the image of God. We are His. What's going on over here? Look at that. Brother and sister. I just think that's cute. So let's go over here. Perfect. We've got Jesus saying, you were created in the image of God, and he's highlighting the hypocrisy present. This is why he cursed the fig tree yesterday. The fig tree looked like it was going to bear fruit, but it was empty. It was totally hypocritical. And this is what he's looking at the priests and the Pharisees, like, you are completely hypocritical. You have the image of God, and you've been charged with the spiritual well-being of my people, and you're not taking care of them. Instead you're trying to trick me, Jesus, into some sort of catch-22. And when we kind of step back for a second, what Jesus is saying is give everything you are, right? Live as a sacrifice, like what Romans 12, 1 and 2 says. If you are God's, then your whole life is to be about Him. Jesus is a great example of this. He gave His whole life. He gave all of His comfort. He gave His safety. He gave everything. He gave everything. All of who He was as a sacrifice to God. That we are to do the same thing this week. And a lot of us will hold things back, right? We'll say, okay, we have the image of God on us, but these other things kind of in my heart, these things I don't want to give, or these things I don't want to address, or the things that are so dear to me, if I lost, I would cease to be me. That the image of God is planted on us, but we have a hard time giving all of that to God. Let's see here, one second. Hey, Marco, good to see you all the way from Germany. Hey, good to see you, Marco and Karen. Hey, Marlene, Mom, good to see you. Kayla Gardner, good to see you this morning as well. And so what Jesus is saying is, listen, if you were created in the image of God, you are owned by God. You are not the master of your own fate. That you have a duty to give back to God what He has given you. So you render to God. You give to God all of your life. And here's the thing. Paul writes about being a living sacrifice. And I've mentioned this at church before. What is a living sacrifice? Well, it's an animal that is not dead and isn't being consumed by the fire, but is on the altar. So it's the command is for us to get up onto the altar, put our hopes, our dreams, our affections, our attitudes, our family, our money, all of that, put them onto the altar. And while we're still alive, have the Lord burn away that which is not holy. Here's the thing about being a living sacrifice and giving your whole to God and giving to God what is His, is it's guaranteed to be painful. That is guaranteed this week. If you try to give more of yourself to God, if you try to yield more of your spirit to God, if you try to yield more in prayer to Thy will be done, it will be more painful this week, but it'll be more worth it as He develops more of that in you. One of the things you can do this week to kind of practice this giving of yourself to God, the rendering yourself to God, is you can pray part of the Lord's Prayer. And it goes, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? And so if you were to kind of change that prayer to make it applicable to this moment, to kind of what Jesus is getting at, you can say, your will be done in my life. Your will be done in my marriage. Your will be done in my parenting. Your will be done in my money. Your will be done in my future. Your will be done in my health. These things that we hold on to, right? These things that we hold dear and that are really important to us. Instead of saying your will be done on earth, right? This kind of broad thing. We narrow it down in prayer and say, God, your will be done in my heart. I need your will to be done in my heart. I need your will to be done in my affections. I need your will to be done in my desires. That this week we say, you know what? If what Jesus said to the Pharisees is true, that we owe God all that we are, our job today is to do the hard work of giving that to Him. And part of the way you can do that is through prayer this morning. Your will be done in my life. Your will be done in my parenting. Your will be done in my house. Your will be done at my job. Your will be done in my affections and my desires. So that we are yielding today all of ourselves to God. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pray for us, and we're going to end here. Wow, that's great. 12 minutes in. It's amazing how quickly we can get through this. I mean, it's not as cute without Eli and Penny, and well, that's kind of cute over there. Look at that, brother and sister just hanging out. Let me pray for us, and we'll be gone. God, thank you so much for modeling. Jesus, thank you so much for modeling what it looks like to sacrifice. Thank you for modeling what it looks like to give ourselves. And so, God, we ask that you would give us the courage to give of ourselves. We ask that you would give us the insight we need to give of ourselves. God, we ask that you would give us the grace we need to be able to process this and to be able to move forward. As we look in their areas of our lives, our hearts and our lives that we have not given to you, God, we ask that you would do what is necessary today to do that. In your name we pray. Amen. So look, go do that. Hey, what are you going to show us?
I got my whole bucket of stuffed animals.
Whole bucket of stuffed animals. We are having a good time here in the quarantine Pritchard house. Want to say goodbye? I mean, we're just ending. So, hold on. Someone had a comment here. Let's see here. Kayla Gardner. She thinks you're so cute. Say thank you, Miss Kayla.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we are out of here. Pray that prayer. Lord, your will be done in my life, in my heart, in whatever that is, whatever that specific thing is. Begin to give yourself fully to God, so that as we progress through Holy Week, we are taking cues from Jesus of what it looks like to live for Him. All right, we'll see you later. If you will do me a favor, if you'll share this with someone you think would be interested in it, share it on your Facebook wall. You can throw a watch party later, but this is a great way for you to share the good news of Jesus coming to save today. We'll see you.